Yeah.
Nothing for the building.
Well, he never measured it.
No, I'm sure. He just poured the soil behind that greenhouse, the rest of the shop.
Call the Board of Adjustments meeting for September 14th to order. Janelle, please take the roll.
Councilmember Barker. Here. Councilmember Brown. Here. Councilmember Lowell. Councilmember Michelson.
Excused.
Thank you. Councilmember Michelson.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here. So that's all we have on this is public hearing, discussion, decision, petition for variance of 218 West Third Street, adjusting the minimum lot and minimum dwelling size. You have an email, I believe, from Mr. Cruz, Public Works Director. Mr. Jim Cloud is here. I think, Mr. Cloud, if you just want to come up, just come up to the podium, state your name.
And then whenever you'd like to read that, or I can read that for you, the memo from Mr. Cruz, if you need to.
You guys don't have one.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got it.
You can read
You want to go ahead and read it? Okay. The memo is from Public Works Director Steve Cruz, today, September 14th. In regard to the variance request for 218 West Third, please ensure that the Board of Adjustments is aware that the sewer main for that area runs under the eastern side of the property. If the variance is granted, the size of the divided lot may not be large enough to avoid building a structure over the main or allow for the proper lateral angle if a sewer connection is proposed in the future. Steve Cruz.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Bob?
Okay, there was no order.
It just came this morning.
Okay.
Understood. So, I currently own that property at 218 West Third. A number of months ago, perhaps a year ago, I became acquainted with a young family who had moved here with the understanding, like a lot of people do, from family, that a piece of the family's property would be divided off, and that would then become theirs to put their already manufactured home on. As happens with families and a new wife involved, sometimes priorities change, and they were no longer able to secure that piece of ground for the family, which puts them in the position that we're seeing more and more, where young families are having a very difficult time affording housing in the area. So we set to work figuring out what we were going to do to help find them housing. And what I realized is that I had that piece of property on West Third that was two pieces of grant. The lot was two city lots, or my grant is two city lots. So I came and talked to Janelle and looked at what we needed to do. And through some investigation, we found out that it was two city lots, but it no longer is. At some time in the past, they were combined back together into one. And so she made me aware that was a problem and that we would have to address that. So the first thing that I'm here for is I'd like to split that property back into two pieces of ground. Now, when we look at that piece of ground, we could split that going north-south, and which would be my preference, because that would provide more room for each of them. The existing renter there, who is supported in the project, and he's here today, Chris. Or we could go east-west. Now, it sounds like from what Chris has told me about where that line is, and it seems to provide substantiation, that to stay away from that, we would have to go with a east-west property line. But we could do it either way. I believe there's certainly, if we're given some flexibility in that, we can figure out from him exactly where that line is at and stay away from it, not cause any future problems. That's something that we'll have to address. The second issue would be that, as we've seen in the valley, square footage is incredibly expensive now in housing, and young families are having a difficult time getting in. So this entire place would be constructed to, of course, all the city codes, put on a foundation, et cetera, but it does not meet your 1,000-foot minimum. And it's my belief more and more people at these prices are gonna have a problem meeting that 1,000-square-foot minimum. So we're asking for 640 square foot on this home. And I believe that a lot of the older homes in Stevensville, especially up by the school, which you know the layout, you walk in, there's a living room, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen in the back. I think they're roughly that size. But we're trying to get these people into a home and help them out. And I need some help from you folks in order to do that.
Okay, we did send out letters. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Did we send notice to people that?
Correct. Everyone in a 500-foot
Is there
radius.
anyone else who would like to speak on this? Just come up, state your name before you leave.
What's going on with it?
My name is Brad Coleman at Turkey Construction. And I own a lot just down the street that we're building on right now. I think I built 4 or 5 homes on that street. Jim, is the house that you have on there over top of the original lot line? No, so you said it was 2 city lots. Is that house over top of that lot line?
No. Well, the past lot line, there is no longer, has been combined in the past into one.
Well,
And so, no, it is not. It was originally on one. It was not combined together, then built. This house was there, and for some reason, those 2 lots were combined together.
okay, that's pretty common in the town. And that's kind of what I've made my business doing in the last 30 years. I think this is my 23rd home I've built. A lot of the original town sites and a lot of the original town site of Stevensville and some of the additions that were put on, the lots were 40 wide. And if you owned a business on Main Street, you bought 3 lots and you built a vast mansion on it. If you worked at the business on Main Street, you bought 1 lot and built a small house on it. And that's why they laid the town out the way they did. My statement, I guess, today is that if that house isn't built over top of the original lot line, you don't have to go through a subdivision process you just need to find the old markers. You don't have to go through a subdivision process to make that a viable lot. You do, however, if you own it, you have to combine them to get up as close as you can to the minimum lot size. It's not under the same ownership or the same partnership, and you can use the original lot.
But I need their approval because now there's a minimum lot size.
So this isn't a subdivision approval. This
Well, okay, the way you were wording it, it sounded like you were
is
trying
not a
to.
subdivision,
No,
so
it's not a
it has to do with the minimum lot size.
I'd just like to say, I believe Jim's spot on the money. The houses I built behind Cenex many years ago are small houses. I think they're about 1,000 square feet. They met the minimum size. Those sold for $89,000. The same house I'm building today is $450,000. So he's right. There's no more affordable housing. You can't do it. So if we can help somebody with that, I don't see that as a problem. However, I am a little concerned about putting things over top of the sewer line. That's a no-no. I was a little concerned about abandoning that alley because of the sewer line for this very same reason. That's what happens when you abandon them. Next thing you know, things get over top of it, and all of those lines are of an age that that's a concern. So if it can be done without covering up the sewer line, I think it's a great thing.
I think it has to be done without comfort.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak regarding this issue? Council, how do you wish to proceed? Councilman Brown.
I have a question. Maybe Brad or Jim can answer it. I think the confusion might be that the lot line, Brad, is it not really erased. I think it's a one tax bill.
That's fine. It's
So
not, doesn't
it's
require
still-
subdivision.
So it's still a block, two
Right.
lots in a block, but where that house is, that is a good question. Where that house is sitting on those two lots. I think it used to be 3 lots, and then they sold off that northern lot where that newer home is. And then, the tax bill is, you get one tax bill, but the lot lines are still there. So I guess the question is where is that existing home on those lots?
Well, you can look at your plat map, your old town
You may
site
want
map.
you may want to see this from the Public Works Director, because you're probably going to have to address this issue about the structure over the sewer line.
My gut reaction, not knowing what I'm doing, is I wouldn't think we could ever build on top of the sewer line. So, but with it being 11,000 square feet and the existing house being approximately 1,000, I believe there's plenty of room on here to put a 640 square foot structure. If we can have flexibility to do that, such that from you folks.
Councilman Barker.
So with that being said as well, I know that we're here, obviously, we're asking for a little bit more leeway. Has this even gone in front of the planning and zoning board that
No,
that
of
it's,
course, planning. and
because
zoning board,
variances have
first of all,
been,
they don't have a chair. Secondly, even if it did, it would have to come here anyway.
Yeah, it has to come back.
it does, but it still has to,
There
there's,
shall be a hearing for each application. Said hearing shall be tried for an appointed time and place. Testimony shall be taken by the board from persons interested in said application.
I don't have any problem with that.
And from the town
Janelle and I
planning.
thought- Janelle and I thought it would just come here, but I don't care, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it's.
because I think that's
The
where
last
they
two that we were,
they can
the
talk.
towns involved in did not go in front of the planning and zoning board, so this is where this one followed those same protocols for.
I was just questioning, because when I was on council, there was a variance that happened off of, I believe it was Mission Street, they were asking for some variances, and it did come, but I was just curious how that actually
If
played
that's
out.
what you want to do, I guess we could delay it.
I would, and that way we could find out exactly where the sewer line's going through and do some more research on this, and then planning and zoning board can make a recommendation to the council. And then the council would have that in place, and then we can make a final decision. Is that fine with you?
You know, I'm gonna do whatever you folks want. I wanna get this family into a home, and they're currently living in a fifth wheel on my property. But I know we need to do things right. So if I go to them, that will allow us to get direction from them, get a distinct layout of where it would be on the property and everything.
Right.
And then we can come back to you and we all have a bit
And it
more
comes back to us.
information.
I think that's the best way to do it, that way you have more of a direct, this is how it, you know, where your lines are, one that gives you more time to find out exactly where those lines are that need to be.
Yeah, I would agree with council, and I think it's advantageous to you, it gives you time to address this maybe.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Where you came here and you had no idea that this was brought until this morning. So that gives, it's only fair to you as well.
You may want to consider waiving his fees that he paid today to advertise all this, so that they don't do that again.
I
You
don't
would
think,
have
I
to
don't
change
think,
it.
no, because you can add that.
Well, you would not have-
That piece is all taken.
No, you would not have to do that. So if you want to just make a motion to refer this to planning and zoning board, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Councilmember Parker.
I'd like to make a motion to refer the variance on 218 West Third Street to our planning and zoning board.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? And we'll go ahead and take the vote. Janelle?
Councilmember Barker,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown. Aye. Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
And I actually get to vote, I don't know.
Mayor.
Bring it on.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
So, and we will contact you, sir, when we can schedule that planning and zoning board meeting.
Great, I appreciate that. Am I able to meet with the gentleman that the email was from before that, so we can get that?
Public
lined
works
up?
guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I can set that up for you.
I think you probably should.
Great,
And I understand, you know, coming from
Oh.
a family's perspective, you know, you want to get them in there as soon as possible, but we also want to make sure that it's done
absolutely.
in the next correct.
Yeah, his name is Steve Cruz, and Janelle can tell you how to get a hold of him.
Great.
Okay,
Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it very much.
thank
No
you.
problem.
We're adjourned.